Everybody, what's going on? Hellmite here, bringing you another video from Grab the Lantern today. I know this is a bit of a weird schedule, but in between Riot putting out the champion roadmap and Samira also coming out and me working on the video for her, I didn't want to wait too long in order to talk about all of these things, so we are going to be going ahead and talking about the champion roadmap that was revealed today. Now, you guys will be able to see my thoughts on Samira coming tomorrow, so do stay tuned for that and subscribe if you guys haven't already in order to be updated when that video goes live. But either way, let's go ahead and talk about the roadmap, as that's always a really exciting thing to take a look at, as it kind of gives us a glimpse as to how Riot are handling the game going forward. Now, first and foremost, the article talks about basically that Riot are going to be doing more champions that are based off of pre-existing characters in the League of Legends universe, as people have responded really well to Senna and Yone after her. So obviously, we don't know who the character is quite yet, and especially with the sort of retcon of a lot of League of Legends lore, there are a lot of characters that I would have said might have been introduced that aren't really on the table anymore. I know Zelos was one that people were really thinking was going to be a thing before the Great Retcon happened, and Zelos ended up being one of Aurelia's dead siblings instead of being someone who is still alive, so he is definitely off the table. A big theory right now going on is that the new character will potentially be a Legends of Runeterra character, so someone who already exists in that game. Now, if that's the case, I would expect this to be a character who has existed before Legends of Runeterra was released, because it just makes the most sense. Riot do work a decent chunk of time ahead. They wouldn't be announcing this character if it wasn't a character who had existed before Legends of Runeterra, because that game isn't even a year old. It wouldn't make any sense for Riot to create that game, to launch it, for players to say, oh, I really like this particular character, and then for Riot to say, oh, let's make a champion based off of that character. So now, that still means there are a couple of characters that could potentially work for this. Cythria and Ledros are both characters that have existed before Legends of Runeterra's launch. They have been in lore. Cythria was in the guidebook of Runeterra. She was first introduced there, and she has since cropped up in Legends of Runeterra as a fan favorite character. So I would not be surprised at all if it was Cythria or Ledros, because I think it makes sense. Those two are popular characters from that game, and they do have a decent chance at showing up in League of Legends, as they've been around for a long time now. Another couple of options could be the Ruined King. I know a lot of people have been looking for more information on the Ruined King, and we've gotten progressively more information on him over the last couple of years, and I would say it's only a matter of time before we get him. My only hope is that he's done well, and he isn't just kind of added to the game because, well, we have to have the Ruined King here, but we'll have to see how Riot handle that. If they do go for Ruined King, they may not be opting to do him at all, given that he has an item already in the game, and given that he just wouldn't make a lot of sense as a character, would be difficult to do as a character, I should say. Another option could be the War Mace and Tamara. She was in one of the early Piltover and Zon stories, and she also ended up making a cameo appearance in the Darius comic. I also believe she is intended to be represented by the War Mason card in Legends of Runeterra. No actual confirmation as to whether or not that's the case, but either way, she could be an option as well. There are a lot of potential characters out there, but I would say those four are probably my front runners for potentially going to be added to the game. So we'll end up seeing, but those are at least my thoughts. If you guys can think of any other characters that have previously existed in League of Legends that could be added as champions, let me know down in the comments. I would love to hear if I've forgotten anybody. Next up, talking about new champions. Now, Riot are trying to get at least 6 new champions a year. They want at least 1 for every role, and they want to be able to do 2 champions for mid lane, with a sort of melee assassin type champion and a mage champion as well. We have a mage still to go and a support still to go for this year. So Riot went ahead and gave us some spoilers as to the next couple of champions, or should I say the last couple of champions for this year. The first is very clearly Seraphine. We already knew she's going to be getting added to the game. She got picked up by KDA, so we absolutely know Seraphine is related to League of Legends. Some people have been saying that Seraphine will be added to the game in sort of an isekai type deal, which is to say that she exists in our world and she gets sucked into the League of Legends universe. I would absolutely hate that, more than I can possibly express in a video, but some people are saying that that might be the case. I think it would be funny. It's a good joke, but I really hope that is not actually the case at the end of the day. But either way, we do know that she's going to be getting added to the universe. We finally have an idea of where she slots into the League of Legends universe, which is nice, as her KDA appearance has basically given us no details at all as to how she is going to fit in. We know she's going to be an inhabitant of Piltover and Zon, and that she is still a musician. I believe there were leaks talking about a potential music mage a while back, and in fact, Mubeat of Surrender at 20 did pull some files about Seraphine from the Wild Rift Alpha, so I would say that that's almost guarantees that it will be Seraphine as our mid lane mage. I'm guessing she's going to be more of a music mage rather than Sona's bard. Sona kind of sits around and plays musical songs to inspire her nearby allies, where I would expect Seraphine to be more of an aggressive music-based champion. But we'll kind of see. I think that's a good way of separating out those two. So at the end of the day, I will be excited to see what exactly Seraphine is able to do in game. The second champion is sort of like Noxus's Silas here, in that they are a patriot, inhabitant of one particular region, but they're sort of at odds with that region's government. Now, in this case, it is Noxus. He is at least related to the Black Rose. I'm saying he, but we actually don't know the gender, so please forgive me for that. We know they're related to the Black Rose. They probably have an idea of the Black Rose's secrets, and that's specifically why they're being hunted down, because they know something that the Black Rose doesn't want anyone else to know, or they, at the very least, have a connection to the Black Rose that the Black Rose doesn't want getting out. Either way, they are very heavily armored, and they are supposed to be effective against heavily armored targets, so they're probably an anti-tank tank, if that makes any sense. We know this is going to be our support pick as well, because Seraphine I don't think makes sense as the support. I believe that is going to be the mid lane mage. Again, the leaks previously mentioned an armored support, so this is probably that champion right there. It looks like they're armed with a lance. I would love to see a champion with lance and shield, as that's an aesthetic that has not actually existed in League of Legends so far. Obviously, Jarvan IV is the closest we got to a lance-wielding champion, but he has a very interesting lance, shall we say. He doesn't have the shield. He doesn't really have the sort of set up and tank everything playstyle. I'm imagining sort of a similar flow or a similar combat pattern to the Lance from Monster Hunter, if you guys are familiar with that. But either way, I'm really, really excited to see how this champion turns out and what his connection is with the Black Rose, as we're starting to get increasingly more information about the Black Rose, even in the most recent stories and the most recent kind of stuff talking about Elise and her connection to the Black Rose. I'm really excited to see how that is going to shake up. Finally, Riot gave us an example of the first champion who will be getting added in 2021. They mention the champion can twist hearts and possess minds, which could signal to me that they have temporary champion control as like an ultimate, so being able to maybe forfeit their own ability to move and act, but being able to take control of an enemy champion and make them do things for them. So steal control of the enemy Malphite and then ult his own team. That would be potentially really good. At the very worst, she's basically taking control of you and then just firing your own ultimate just so it's on cooldown. I could totally see a champion being able to do that. But we don't really know anything else. We don't know if that's exactly what it is. I figure the champion will likely have charms at the very least, as that is sort of a way of possessing minds and twisting hearts, as the page sort of said. So again, it'll be interesting. I am quite excited to see where this champion is going to go. They are a jungle skirmisher, which is interesting how we're doubling up on that. I'm hoping they follow a slightly different playstyle to Lilia, who obviously was an AP jungler, an AP skirmisher jungler who was just released. So I'm hoping this new champion does follow a sort of different playstyle than Lilia and is not quite as squishy. Also interesting to note, this champion was probably designed with the new item system in mind. So as with Senna, they will probably have some good synergies with items that will exist already. And also this will be the jungler for 2021. So you guys can already sort of say, okay, this is the jungler that's going to exist. We obviously had Lilia last year, so those will sort of be your jungle picks going forward. Dr. Mundo's update was also touched on, right? Essentially gave us an idea as to where he is at currently with his design. They know that he is going to be a very simple to play champion and easy to pick up. They're keeping his super tank regeneration and his cleaver throwing on top of upgrading his visuals. They're also trying to keep Dr. Mundo as sort of a comedic champion, but in a dark way. So yes, he's funny, but what he's laughing about is the fact that he's murdering lots of people. Potentially could be the theme, which I do like. I think we have precious little comedy in League of Legends and precious little dark comedy in League of Legends. I think the closest we really got to that was especially something like Lucian's lines where he's saying trick shot, the trick is not to get shot, that sort of dark humor. So excited to see where they take Dr. Mundo, as I think he has a lot of opportunities to do that well. Riot did also mention that they really want to lean into his Dr. Mundo goes where he pleases theme, and they want to be able to give him some form of CC immunity effect. Now, this could just be an upgrade to his old Burning Agony passive, which gave him bonus tenacity while it was activated. It could just give him CC immune while it's active and while it's draining health. I would not be surprised at all to see that. Alternatively, Riot could have repurposed the passive they were testing on the Volibear rework, where he was basically immune to crowd control, but crowd control was converted into two slows at the same time. So you could never stun him, but you could at least slow him down. That could be a thought for Dr. Mundo's new passive. I would be quite excited to see that if that was the case, though Riot did say that had some play balance concerns, so maybe not so much, but at the very least, Dr. Mundo will have that sort of CC immunity, so excited to see where that goes. They also uploaded a bunch of concept art talking about how Dr. Mundo will likely look, which I do kind of like how it is appearing so far. I'm not going to say it, any of this looks like the final design, but at the very least, we're sort of getting a picture as to where Mundo will end up, and honestly, he doesn't look that different from how he does currently. It's more of an updated version of the Dr. Mundo we all know and love, which I do quite like. Finally, Riot touched on the champion update polls, as they did mention that they were going to do another champion update poll earlier this year. They said you guys will be able to vote on the next champion to get reworked once Fiddlesticks and Volibear go live. However, they did come out and finally say it is not actually going to happen. The biggest problem with it were technical reasons. The site they did the previous poll on, their Nexus site, has since been retired, and they haven't been able to add the new site to the new, they haven't been able to add the tech to do the polls on the new site. So that's why we didn't end up getting a poll. They thought about for a while having, waiting until they could patch that functionality into the new site, but they decided instead to just go on ahead with a champion update as opposed to having the team sit on their hands until they got a poll going, or having the team start on a new champion. They decided, you know what, let's just pick a champion and go forward. Now, it was not a champion who was on the previous poll. That means we know it's not Nocturne and we know it's not Shyvana. That is very disappointing for me to hear. I was really looking forward to both of those champions getting a VGU, but hopefully they will get VGU'd at some point next year. Again, I think those champions have huge amounts of potential going forward. Either way, though, we know it's not going to be those two, so the question is, who is it? My personal bet are on champions like Tryndamere or Shaco, potentially Udyr as well. I know he just got the sort of visual update on his particle effects, but usually those projects are labors of love by Riot devs individually, and not necessarily the company itself saying, we need to update these champions' particles or these champions' VFX. So I would not be surprised at all then if it was Udyr. I'm hoping it is a champion like Tryndamere or Shaco, as I think they both suffer from difficult play patterns. Obviously, there are a bunch of other champions it could potentially be. We don't have any details as of yet, so again, I'll be quite excited. Let me know which champions you think it is likely to be down in the comments. I would love to hear your guys' thoughts as to who you think it might actually end up being, as, again, we have a lot of potential on the horizon. We have a lot of champions that it could theoretically be, especially given that we know it's not Nocturne or Shyvana. So let me know that down in the comments. And that's going to be it for me today, guys. Thank you all so very much for watching. I do appreciate it. Again, let me know what you guys are thinking of any of this down in the comment section below. If you guys have some thoughts as to who the next champion is going to be, or if you guys have a thought as to who the sort of existing character is going to be, let me know all of that. If you enjoyed today's video, go ahead and leave a like. And if you really enjoyed today's video, consider subscribing. I upload video every Monday, Friday, and on patch days as well. Again, this was a bit of a weird video, but hey, stay tuned and maybe we'll see some more of these videos released in the future. Once again, thank you guys so very much for watching. I do appreciate it. And I'll talk to you all later.